A campaign of terror is sweeping Myanmar. Civilians are being dragged off the street, interrogated and held without charge as the military continues to crush dissent after seizing power in a coup. As allegations of torture mount, 101 East investigates what goes on inside secret detention centres and speaks with army defectors with inside knowledge of the military machine. And we expose how surveillance technology from Western companies may be empowering the army to build a state of fear. This volunteer medic is hiding in jungle near Thailand. He's one of thousands of people fleeing to Myanmar's remote border regions to escape the military. After the February coup, countrywide demonstrations triggered a brutal crackdown on protesters and anyone who helped them. The paramedic found out he was on a wanted list and authorities came looking for him. So he fled. According to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, more than 800 civilians have been killed in Myanmar since the coup, a number disputed by the military. In March, friends and family gathered to bury one of the alleged victims, Khin Maung Lat. He worked for the National League for Democracy Party, or NLD, that was deposed in the coup. Sithu Maung is a prominent NLD politician. Khin Maung Lat was a close friend and his campaign manager. I last saw them on the campaign trail for the national elections in November 2020. Sithu Maung was elected to parliament. 7 months later, he's in hiding.
Khin Maung Lat ko tatte kiissa de ma chano ko nyu da le pa kaung pa nain de. Tu si ka ne pi do information ya chin lo di let lun chi lun phit twa da lo chano yu sa de. Ba jaung le so do chano ne ani katရှိခဲ့တဲ့ရွေးကောက်ပွဲကာလမှာရှိခဲ့တဲ့သူတယောက်လူကောင်းတယောက်လေသူတို့ဖမ်းသွားပြီးတော့မှတည်သွားတာဒါတွေးရတဲ့ကိစ္စမှမဟုတ်တာ
The morning after his arrest, Khin Maung Lat's family were told he had fainted and died of a heart attack. They were instructed to pick up his body from a hospital in Myanmar's biggest city, Yangon. The NLD and other close friends of Khin Maung Lat say that the official account of his death is inconsistent with what can be seen in these images. Evidence of injuries on his body and a bloodied sheet wrapped around him. Videos given exclusively to 101 East show a large amount of blood came away from Khin Maung Lat's body when his corpse was washed in a traditional Islamic practice.
သူ့ရဲ့ဒဏ်ရာဒဏ်ချက်ကိုကြည့်လို့ရှိရင်ခါမှာဟာလာဥကောင်းမှာနရွက်နားတွေမှာပြီးတော့ခန္ဓာကိုယ်ရဲ့အချို့စိတ်ပိုင်းတွေမှာ ထုရိုက်ကန်ကြောက်ထားတဲ့ဒီအညိုမဲဆွဲဒဏ်ရာမျိုးတွေကိုတွေ့တယ်ဆိုတာမျိုးဒီစေးစာကိုမီဒီယာတွေကိုမပြဘူးတခြားဘယ်သူမှမပြဘူးဆိုတာမျိုးလက်မှတ်ထိုးပြီးတော့မှထုတ်ပေး
More political figures, dissidents and others have died in suspicious circumstances. This CCTV footage shows a teenager being shot as he and 2 others ride a motorcycle past a military truck. But his family was given a death certificate which said he died in a bike accident. Those who contradict the official narrative are threatened on state media channels, as was the case involving Zormyat Lin, another NLD official. Authorities claim he jumped off his building while trying to escape arrest, but his family say his body showed signs of torture.
ဦးစောမြင့်လေးရဲ့ရုံလောင်းနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးလူမှုကွန်ရက်စာမျက်နှာများမှာမဟုတ်မှန်မှန်သတင်းများရေးသားဖော်ပြကရရွအေဂျင့်တာယာရေးဆောင်ရွက်နေတဲ့လုံခြုံရေးတပ်ဖွဲ့ဝင်များကိုအများပြည်သူအထင်မြင်လွဲမှားစေရန်စူပူအောင်ကြမှုများဖြစ်ပေါ်စေရန်လှုံ့ဆော်သွေးထိုးရေးသားခြင်းအဲလိုလှုံ့ဆော်မှုများကိုဖော်ထုတ်ပြီးထိရောက်စွာအရေးယူနိုင်ရေးဆောင်ရွက်သွားမှာဖြစ်တယ်လို့သတင်းရရှိပါတယ်ခင်ဗျာ
In this climate of fear, Sithu Maung's main concern now is for the living. The military is targeting the family members of dissidents in hiding, including his own.
သူကနေတကားကိုရိုက်ချိုးပြီးတော့တနတ်တွေနဲ့ကိုချိန်ပြီးတော့ချင်းချောက်တာပေါ့နေအဖေပမာလဲပေါ့အဖေကပထမအိမ်ထဲမှာပုံနေတာအဖေပမာလဲအဖေကိုမတွေ့လို့ရှိရင်ဒီလာသားကလေးလို့ပြစ်တက်လိုက်မယ်ဆိုတဲ့ပုံစံမျိုးထိသူကချင်းချောက်ပြီးတော့မှလို့ဖမ်းသွားတာပေါ့
His father was taken away and charged with inciting civil disobedience. He's now locked up in Yangon's notorious insane prison, which housed thousands of political prisoners when the military was last in power.
Do you fear that your father will suffer the same fate that Kim Mon-lat suffered?
ရှိပါတယ်။ဘာကြောင့်လဲဆိုတော့စစ်အုပ်ချုပ်ရေးစတင်လိုက်တဲ့ရက်ဆက်ရန်ကားမှုတွေဟာလာအကြမ်းဖက်ပြီးတော့ပြစ်ခတ်တပ်ဖြတ်မှုတွေကနေ့စဉ်နဲ့အမျှကျွန်တော်တို့ကကြုံနေရတယ်။အာဏာအတွက်တပ်ဖို့အတွက်စစ်အုပ်စုကဘယ်တော့မှဝင်မလေးပါဘူး
More than 6,000 people have been detained since the coup, and 80% of them remain in custody. Waynin Puinthon's father, Mya A, was arrested in the early hours of the day of the army takeover. A security camera captured the moment when 5 soldiers took away the 55-year-old activist.
For 2 months, we had no idea where he was being detained or where he was. There were a lot of rumors. Some people were saying, oh, he was being interrogated, he was being tortured, and some even said he died. But now we know he is in insane prison, he's been charged, he's on trial.
Waynin works for Burma Campaign UK, advocating for political prisoners in Myanmar.
In the beginning of the coup, there were moments that I thought maybe I needed to stop talking, I needed to stop speaking out because I didn't want my family to be in danger. But collectively we decided that, you know, I have the voice and I should use it.
She's increasingly concerned about the number of arrests by the military. On state TV, new warrants are read out every night, and mugshots show some of those who've been detained. Waynin fears that some are being held in interrogation centres and tortured.
In the past, when people were arrested, they were never sent to prison straight away. They were being sent to integration centre and being tortured for days. We know there are facilities around the country. We don't know where exactly, but that is really an indication that we are going back to dark ages.
Using my contacts, I tracked down 3 people who say they were taken to a facility in North Yangon after being violently detained.
30 people just beat me up quite badly and dragged me on the road for about 100 meters. And I think I lost consciousness.
They tied our hands from the back and they put us in the car. Nobody knew where we were moving, so we just say, okay, we're going to die. Everyone was afraid.
I've been hearing rumours about an army compound in Shwepita, a township on the outskirts of Yangon. prisoner transport vehicles have been photographed coming in and out of the facility, escorted by security cars. But no one seems certain what's really going on there. To investigate this covert facility further, I take the evidence I've gathered to Forensic Architecture, a research agency at the University of London.
So we can see
Kishan San is a project coordinator here, part of a team that investigates cases of state violence and human rights violations.
So usually when we investigate an incident, we're looking for photographs, testimony, satellite imagery, which we'll all bring together in a 3D model in order to investigate and analyse crimes. The edge of this building.
A local resident sent me 2 photographs of the main entrance to the facility.
We identify key features in the photography in satellite imagery as well, based on the shadows they cast on the ground. So this cell tower behind the gate is visible in its triangular shadow cast on the ground here. And then there's these 2 utility poles, one in front of the gate and one behind the gate, which are again visible through their shadows. When we photo match in 3D, this adds an extra level of verification.
The former detainees helped us pinpoint the precise location where they were held within the compound.
The building is very, very new. I think it was just built for us only.
Satellite images show the facility appears unused in November 2019. But a year later, just a week before the coup, new roofs have been installed, matching the detainees' description, and footpaths to the buildings emerge. At the same time, cars and green military trucks appear to the north of the site. As arrests increased in February and March, the footpaths become clearer, suggesting they're being regularly used, and more vehicles appear. The detainees describe the inside of the facility.
The building is just 1 floor, quite big. It's carrying about 200 people, and they have 6 toilets.
People were being brought in and sent away every day, but on average, there is about 200 to 300 people regularly. It was so tight, some people had to sleep on chairs because there was no more floor space.
Detainees tell us they were interrogated for hours.
We have to sit up when policemen come in. We cannot look at each other. We have to put our hands on our head. You just only look in front of you, like only 3 feet.
There was 10 to 20 policemen taking our information. They interrogate people one by one at a table.
They questioned all of us until about 2 in the morning.
Everyone I speak to says targeted detainees were taken away to be interrogated separately. When they returned, some showed signs of abuse.
One of the girls, they did a separate interrogation to her. And when she came back, we heard that they'd beat her legs with a bamboo stick. She was in so much pain.
Others were not seen again.
There were 1 or 2 detainees from the student unions. They were taken away with black hoods over their hats, and they didn't come back.
As allegations of human rights abuses mount, I visit a United Nations team that is collecting evidence across the country. Nicholas Koumjian heads the Independent Investigative Mechanism for Myanmar.
I believe that there is sufficient evidence for us to open this investigation about whether crimes against humanity have been committed by the security forces since the coup. We're very concerned with reports of torture. Torture, of course, is a crime against humanity. And when people are targeted at night and randomly, it could be an indication that the objective is to create terror on the part of a civilian population. And this terror could be a crime against humanity.
His team has been refused entry into Myanmar, but they're collecting evidence recorded by citizens on mobile phones.
I think this creates great opportunities for us to collect this evidence, to help document crimes, to prove who is responsible for that crime. What's valuable in a criminal investigation is first-hand evidence. We want to talk to the people who actually saw or heard what happened.
Tun Myat Aung had a front row seat as violence escalated in the weeks following the coup. An army captain who served for 12 years, he defected after hearing reports that the military had been massacring civilians. He says some soldiers used live ammunition instead of rubber bullets. Soldiers are cut off from the general public, living with their families in isolated army compounds. But as the crackdown continues, more soldiers desert their posts. I contact another military defector who took great risks to flee his barracks in March. Lin Te Aung served for 13 years, rising to the rank of captain. He says the brainwashing of soldiers begins at the army's training academies. He says he's heard of brutal practices taking place in interrogation centers. He tells us most enforced disappearances and interrogations are coordinated by the Office of the Chief of Military Security Affairs, known locally as the Saya Ka. Tun Myat Aung says the military's capacity to surveil and investigate should not be underestimated, particularly online. Myanmar has also been looking abroad to build an arsenal of the most advanced cyber surveillance and data extraction tools. These plans are laid bare in hundreds of leaked government documents and tenders. 101 East is examining these deals with Lighthouse Reports, an investigative journalism group based in Europe. Thin Lei Win, a journalist from Myanmar, is part of the team.
What we've discovered is that there are roughly around 40 Western companies that provides the kind of surveillance technology and forensic equipment that are linked to the Myanmar authorities. We have been able to find some procurement documents that show that some of these products were important to Myanmar.
The budgets include software used to intercept calls and messages, crack passwords, extract and decrypt mobile data, and conduct facial recognition.
So the budget documents that we were looking at were from 2018, 2019, 2020. All of those came after the massive wave of violence that drove hundreds of thousands of Rohingya out of their homes and killed untold number. The United Nations have in fact said some of the top commanders who were responsible for that operation should be charged with genocide. So these companies, in good conscience, cannot say they had no idea that the country that they're trying to sell these equipment and tools to, have a clean record when it comes to human rights.
Evidence that this kind of technology is used to persecute people in Myanmar was revealed in 2018 after 2 Reuters journalists were arrested while investigating a massacre of Rohingya men. Software by Israel-based firm Celebrite scraped data from their phones, which was used to sentence them to 7 years in prison. When this became public, Celebrite claimed it had stopped trading in Myanmar, but documents show the government quickly found alternatives.
Everywhere in the world, people carry around and interact with all sorts of mobile digital devices all the time.
Swedish firm MSAB has admitted it sold data extraction software to the civilian government in Myanmar in 2019.
It's for the Bureau of Special Investigation under the military.
But the files show MSAB products were destined for a police intelligence agency under the military-controlled Ministry of Home Affairs.
Oxygen Forensics introduces the new Oxygen Forensics Detective.
Another data extraction company, US firm Oxygen Forensics, confirmed to 101 East it sold 1 license in Myanmar, but wouldn't say to whom.
Extract data from locked devices and protected backups.
Documents show that in 2020, some of its products were delivered to a supplier in Yangon with known military connections.
I think this just shows that some Western companies are willing to step in to any gap left by another company leaving, knowing full well that some of this technology has already been used for nefarious and sinister purposes.
If you were pulled over at a checkpoint, they could take your phone for 15 minutes and plug it into their system and grab everything that's on your phone.
During a meeting with the Lighthouse team, we hear how some of the technology from these companies can be used to access a phone owner's cloud services and spy on users even after the device is handed back.
So even if they don't extract anything that they think implicates you at the time you're detained, they can possibly extract information that does later on.
MSAB told 101 East it continuously reviews the countries that it sells products to and takes all reasonable steps to prevent the misuse of its technology. It says it has stopped all sales to Myanmar. But MSAB's website says the products in the budget documents can still be used with an expired license. Oxygen Forensics told us in a statement it has strict policies and only sells products to law enforcement agencies, vetted professional forensic investigations, and corporations providing forensic services. It says it has not sold to Myanmar for over a year. But Thin fears Myanmar's law enforcement agencies could use this technology to target civilians.
Based on the documents that we've seen and the interviews that we've done, all of that points to the military's ambition to build a surveillance state in Myanmar. They definitely have the desire, and now they also have the technologies. My concern is that it is only a matter of time before they really start using them, perhaps much more widespread than we know.
Myanmar's military did not respond to requests for comment on the allegations raised in this program. I meet up again with Wei Nin Puint Thon. Her father, Mya A, who was arrested on the day of the coup, has now been charged with hate speech. Evidence included in the court documents seems to have been extracted from his phone. The documents detail an email exchange from 2014 which discussed peace talks with Myanmar's ethnic armed groups. But Wei Nin says her father deleted these emails.
He was very careful. He knew leading up to the coup that he could be arrested, so he was deleting everything.
Is it possible that your father just didn't delete that email because he didn't think it was inflammatory?
I can tell you for sure he deleted this email, and we understand that he didn't give his password to anyone. I think they are showing people that they can trace back to your past and they can find anything, even from a private secure mobile phone or laptop. So that's their way of telling everyone that they have this advanced technology.
As the crackdown continues, citizens are giving us a window into the unfolding horror via their mobile phones. But these devices can also be weaponized against them. With the risk of surveillance, imprisonment, and torture all too real, Myanmar has become a state of fear.